doing? I had to remember what day it was because I'm so used to going live on Tuesdays, and sorry that I had to reschedule. My allergies get insane this time of year because it's almond blossom season and I'm super allergic to them. So it definitely triggered an allergy induced migraine, but we are here today. It is still a little bit lingering, and my shoulders and my neck are really stiff still. So hopefully we can get through this live all right though. So how is everybody doing? And hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm feeling better, Madeline. Thank you. I still have a little bit of the headache and my shoulders and my neck are stiff, but I am okay otherwise. Hey, Sana. Hey, Renee. But yesterday, oh my God, I was like, it's okay. I'll fight through it. I can do the live. And just like, I woke up and I could feel it like coming on, and then it just kept getting worse. And no matter what I was doing, like it was just setting in worse. And I went to go comb my hair and my scalp hurt so bad. And at the same time, like I started getting nauseous, and I was like, there's no way I can sit here with a ring light in my face trying to read a scrolling chat and not die. So we just basically spent the whole day yesterday hiding in the dark and praying to God that it would go away. Oh my goodness, Kiki, I'm so sorry. Oh, I love Carlen. Carlen is like legit my sister. Like from the very second that we met, because we were on somebody else's live and like I had no idea who she was or anything, and it was just so funny because like we got on the live and we introduced ourselves to each other, and by the end of the live we were like, oh my God, you're my best friend forever. And it's just, that's how we've been since. So oh, thank you, Dee. I didn't really, yes, and happy birthday to Carlen. I know it's her birthday. I have to call her later. This is the same hair color that I always have because I just use like a color glaze from Schwarzkopf, because number one, my hair grows super fast, and number two, we have hard water, and so it strips color from your hair, so there's no point in actually like fully dyeing it, since I would have to every 2 weeks anyways. But I will tell you, for people who are like considering using rosemary oil for hair growth, and minoxidil I know does the same thing too. If you color your hair, you will definitely notice that your hair like does get lighter around your crown and roots, where you apply the oil. Like it just naturally lightens it up more. So that's kind of the pain in the ass thing about using that if you do color your hair, just a heads up. So yes, this full moon has been intense, but this is just an intense year anyways, guys. Both with like astrology kind of stuff going on, with the way that the world is, going in general anyways. And then add into it that it's an 8-year, in numerology. But the thing is for us to remember, number one, there is a saying, and I know it comes from the Bible, and we're not Bible thumpers over here by any means. And if you're in my Patreon, you definitely know I'm not. But it is a very true saying, be in this world, but not of it. We don't have to get caught up in the anxiety and the aggression and the fear and all of the like intense negative energy that people fall prey to and then take on as their own and perpetuate it. We just, as long as you're minding your own business and staying in your own lane and you're focused on your own stuff, like this is an amazing year to manifest things, to really activate your ancestors, to set yourself up for long-term success and stability and financial abundance and all of that kind of stuff. this is an action type of year, you know, so that's why we're seeing like karma coming to pay a big visit to a lot of people too. Our ancestors are definitely active. So use that energy for good, you know, and when you do start to feel like this stuff bubbling up, remind yourself, this is not mine. Take a few deep cleansing breaths in through your nose and let all of that air fill you up, and imagine that it is gathering up all the nasties and the energy that doesn't belong to you, and you release it with every deep breath out through your mouth. And do that a few times, and then on the final one, call back your own positive energy and imagine a golden light is filling you up, and that light is full of healing, success, abundance, your ancestors' protection, whatever intention you want to put on that, so that you recalibrate. You're releasing shit that isn't yours, and you're pulling back in your own energy so you can stay focused on you and what you need to do. Like, this is really a mind your own business kind of year in a sense. Or a stay in your lane year, I should say. Not mind your own business, because the universe obviously wants us to know about other people's business with all of the exposing stuff going on. But it's more, you know, register it, be aware of what's going on, but don't take it on as like yours, you know. It's just okay. And for a lot of, you know, what's going on too, like, especially if you've been watching me and you are in my Patreon, you know, I've been predicting all of this stuff. I predicted what's going on with Prince Charles right now, but I didn't make that video public since we were talking about somebody's health, and that can be a violation over here. So, and that's the thing too, guys, you know, there's a lot of censorship that's at play right now everywhere, and I hate it because there is so much stuff that I wish I could just like openly tell everybody constantly over here, but I can't, because if I lose my channel, then I have no way to communicate with you guys, right? So it's like I have to pick and choose where I can share stuff. But I know every creator that, you know, is in a space where they talk about these types of things is going up against this. Dustin Daly has a really big channel, and, you know, he was talking about how he gets censored a lot too, and constantly demonetized, or certain videos of his taken down. And, you know, and then that's the other thing too, is that certain channels are allowed to speak about those things, but then the rest of us get in trouble for it. So, you know, you guys just have to understand, like, we get put in between such a rock and a hard place sometimes, and it's not because we want to gatekeep things, it's because we're forced to have to at certain times. So anyways, yes, you can go to patreon.com/psychicbellalove, and over there is the only place that I take requests for celebrity video readings, and all of the topics that we do on these Tuesday lives are chosen by my patrons. And we have everything over on my Patreon is completely exclusive, from our Illuminati deep dives, history, religion, all the stuff we talk about over there. And we keep everything Nikki related over there as well right now, because there's definitely a lot of spiritual warfare that's going on within the industry in general, but especially targeted at her. So we don't want to help those people. So there is a Barb's tier that you can join for as low as $3 a month. Patreon.com/psychicbellalove. So thank you for putting up the links in the chat too, Lindsay. I appreciate that. So before we do get into any of the topics today, I'm just going to let you guys know, especially because if you have been following me long enough, or you are on my Patreon, you know, Wendy Williams is somebody that I have a lot of appreciation for, and she played kind of, you know, an iconic role in my life in certain ways. And so because of that, number one, I'm going to preface this by telling everybody I could not get through watching the documentary. I felt like, especially because I have dealt with people in my own personal life who've also struggled with alcoholism as well as dementia, it was extremely triggering. So, that said, I do want to finish watching it. It was just way too much to try to sit down and watch all at once, especially because I was really busy over the weekend too, working. But we're going to do her last because I do not own waterproof makeup. And I probably will tear up talking about any of the stuff that's going on with her. So I would rather be able to get off live and wash my face afterwards. So we're going to start with Porsha and Simon, because this is some drums for your mamas. And, there's a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding this whole thing. And so, hey, Hannah, and let me say hi to everybody in the chat first, too. I'm sorry, guys. We just got on a roll about not getting caught up in the craziness, and I forgot to say hi to everybody. Hey, Preston, how are you, babe? We'll talk to you later. So, hi, Sana. Hey, Lindsay, Can, Donna, Hanjro, Ronnie, and Kiki, and Venus, and Madeline, and Dee, and Irene, I hope, and Ronnie, and Caitlin. I hope you guys are all doing well. So, I just want to tell you guys, since we're on the topic of like Bravo, just to kind of go off topic a little bit. Number one, y'all know I've been telling Dario forever that he's psychic and he just needs to accept it. And I had to preface this by saying I'm not one of those people that goes around telling everybody, oh, you have a gift, because that sometimes ends up being another scam altogether in the spiritual world. But also because usually, somebody discovering their gift is a part of their own journey, and they don't always necessarily need somebody else to tell them that they are. But Spirit's always like, you need to scream it at him until he accepts it. So that's what we do. But y'all know I always tell you Dario's like my Bravo friend that I talk to all this stuff about. And so, hey, Ange. So anyways, me and him, we're always talking about Bravo and everything. And so a lot of the stuff that he's been saying, like, I have a feeling that so much stuff is going to come out about Andy Cohen this year, because even though what Bethany, is tried to start with her reality reckoning, obviously didn't take off the way that she hoped to. It doesn't mean that other people didn't suddenly feel emboldened to, throw their own hats in the ring. And so all of a sudden, he's, are we ending the stream? No, babe, we're just getting started. Hey, Cindy. So, sorry, I was like, wait, is there some like tech thing going on saying I'm ending the stream? Because I'm not. So anyways, obviously, if you guys haven't been like keeping up, there's been like 3 different lawsuits that have been filed where Andy's like getting exposed in them. Like somebody said that he's been doing blow with housewives and that he has diddle bop style freak off type parties too. And like a bunch of crazy stuff has been coming out. So Dario definitely was on with that one. But we were talking about oh no, I was saying hi to everybody, hun. I wasn't saying bye. But we were just talking about Bethany in general, and we've come to the conclusion that we think that she is trying to start like a new chapter where she's establishing herself as like a Candace Owens or a Megyn Kelly type of a person. With the way that she's always like so like just aggressive about her opinions with everything, whether people want to hear them or not. And she acts like she's speaking on behalf of everybody. So that's what I'm saying. Andy pissed somebody off, because anytime that you see somebody that has, you know, any sort of sense of power, like a Andy Cohen or a Diddy, or, you know, some other person that we would consider to be like, you know, an elite within the industry, or as the conspiracy people, you know, call them, gatekeepers or whatever. Anytime that they start getting exposed, it's like, okay, well, they tick somebody off. Somebody's mad at them, you know? So now that's why this is being allowed to happen, because a lot of times, too, you know, when we do hear about this stuff, it's things that it's like in 2009 or in 1992, and it's always old. So it's like, obviously, this person was being protected and allowed to, you know, have this behavior and these shenanigans going on until they pissed off the wrong person, and that person was like, well, you're not being protected again, you know. And then they put out what I call the dog whistle, which is, you know, somehow, some way they let everybody know that person ain't being protected anymore, and it's open season. And then everybody comes out with their stories, their lawsuits, you know, whatever. Well, a lot of this stuff, you guys, the reason why I'm also bringing it up is because now that a bunch of white ladies are saying this stuff, people are starting to, you know, take it serious. But this is a lot of the same shit that NeNe's been saying for years was going on over there. And the fact that in one of the lawsuits that I think was just filed like yesterday or maybe Monday, because my sense of timing is off anyways, but especially having been off, you know, hiding in the dark all day, I'm like, for my migraine, I can't remember if I saw it yesterday or the day before, but it's from a girl that was on the Real Housewives of New York, and I don't watch that show, so I'm not familiar with her, you know, her season. But she was saying that, you know, like, if you're willing to like run around and party with Andy, then he'll pull all kinds of favors for you, from giving you like top billing on like housewives shows, or helping you get commercial deals and things like that through NBC as a whole. And if you aren't willing to play that game and party with him, and you don't want to drink and do drugs with him, that you're sort of, you know, left on that bottom rung and you don't really get anything. And that just reminded me, because if any of you were able to get through NeNe's podcast that she did with Bethany, it took me like a week to be able to finish it, because there's only so much Bethany I can take at once anyways, which is why I don't know much about the Real Housewives of New York. But also the way that she kept interrupting her, it was like, oh my God, like I just kept getting mad and screaming at her to shut up so NeNe could finish a sentence. But I do remember both her and NeNe talking about how they used to go around to parties with Andy and hang out, and he would drag them as like his dates to different things to impress people that he knew, like, oh, like say when he first met Anderson Cooper, like, oh, I knew that Anderson Cooper, you know, said that NeNe was his favorite housewife, so I brought NeNe to a dinner party of his to impress him. So, you know, he was kind of pimping them out in a sense. And then once they got big enough where they had their own shit going on and he couldn't drag them around anymore, like his little handbags, or they didn't want to do that anymore, all of a sudden, that's when he started having issues with them, according to them. And I'm just like, well, I think that what that girl had to say kind of put some weight on their side of things, if you think about it. Well, and if you think about it too, doesn't he drag Candy along to a lot of stuff with him also? Because I've seen hella pictures, because I started following a bunch of the Bravo pages, you know, when Dario got me back into Bravo so I could understand what he was talking about. And I constantly was seeing pictures of Andy and NeNe at all these different events and stuff. Or not NeNe, I mean Candy. So, and, you know, then if he does, think about it, if you also are a Candy or at least a Vanderpump, where you've been able to have spin-offs too, then that also looks good for Andy with the network. So then obviously he's gonna be happy with you because you're double lining his pockets, not just from Housewives, but from Vanderpump Rules or whatever the hell else, you know, you've got going on that he gets a percentage of. And if you guys also, like, you know, Bethany, again, you know, she can be annoying, but she can also be right about stuff. How she talked about how there's that Bethany clause that now, like, if you have a business that you show on the show or you launch something while you are a part of the show, that Bravo and Andy get a cut of it, because they say that, like, oh, well, you're profiting off of the network and it's free advertising for you. So that's also another way that they have control over you too, you know, because when you think about it, I know from watching a lot of these Bravo blogs and stuff, you know, just trying to understand what was going on and catch up on what I've missed, they talk all the time about how, you know, a lot of these housewives, like, once they're no longer on the show, like, they're so desperate to come back and they'll do all kinds of stuff to try to get back on the show. And it's like, almost in a way, it makes you think like Bravo and Andy brainwash these people into believing that, like, they need the show and they're nobody without it, instead of being able to do what, like, other people have been able to do in the past, where they took, you know, their notoriety that they built on a reality show and then spun it into a whole career for themselves. Like, these women seem to think they can't do that and they're bound to Andy and Bravo. But when you think about it too, think about how, like, messed up that is. Okay, say that you're one of those one season wonders and you launch, say, a jewelry line or something while you were on the show, right? And that was part of your storyline. So you launch this business and it does end up being profitable enough that even though you're dropped from the show, that you then, you know, continue it and it's bringing in an income for you. But Bravo and Andy are still getting a percentage of your business and you're not even on the damn show anymore. Like, that would burn my asshole. I'm not even lying. Like, I'd be like, you motherfuckers, how do you still have, like, the right to get, you know, but it's like, that's the contract that you signed. So, you know, you kind of sold your soul in that sense. But that's also because I know Dario's talked in, like, Patreon before that, you know, 360 deals are not only relegated to the music industry, they just don't call it a 360 or recognize it outside of that. But when you look at how these Bravo contracts are constructed, then it's like, but that kind of basically is a 360. They get a percentage of any freaking thing that you do. You know, they have the control that they can also tell them you can't go on certain podcasts and you can't promote certain things, or you can't do things on other networks that they see as competition. So it's like, they really do have so much control of these people and limit their ability to provide for themselves outside of it. So that also probably makes a little bit of sense too as to why we do see Porsha, you know, wanting to come back to the Housewives, because a lot of people were like, you know, why would she even want to come back? Because she was sort of able to make a name for herself. But then when you think about it too, she quit all of her jobs when she married Simon. Like, they just had that one little show that they did together, but she left Dish. She left some other correspondent, like, thing that she was doing on the side for, like, I think, like, awards and stuff or different events. She, you know, left the Housewives, and it was just like, okay, now all of a sudden the marriage isn't working out, and Portia's like, I need all my jobs back. The Duchess of Deception. Well, listen, yes, 360s are so predatory. Well, and this is the thing too, you know, like, when we're talking about like you know, Taraji brought this to the forefront, obviously, like how she said, you know, she got paid $150,000 for Benjamin Button. That was the only job that she had for like 18 months. It's not very much money. Like, it's not hard for normal people to make $180,000 in 18 months. And so it's, you know, like these people don't have the money that we think that they do. They just have bigger bills and bigger access to more lines of credit than us. So, yeah, well, we're just talking about Porsha and Simon in this reading. We'll do a whole separate Housewives thing on my second channel sometime soon, because when I do actually do Housewives on this channel, I always throw it in with something else, because it doesn't, people don't really care about Housewives so much on this channel anyways. So we'll do it on the backup channel soon. But yeah, I do notice that, you know, of course, Andy definitely has his favorites. He seems like he can't stand to read either. You just watched that movie a month ago for the first time. Which movie, hun? Oh, Benjamin Button. I vaguely remember watching it, and I remember like what the plot is, but I just don't really remember like the whole story all that much. Like, I probably fell asleep watching it, or like had it on in the background when I was doing something else. Hey, na Porsche. The other day on Instagram, though, I think it was over the weekend, people were talking about like the Tyler Perry movies, and we were talking about how you'll like, because you know, the most traumatic movie that I've seen of his, For Colored Girls. Oh my God, we were talking about like, if you haven't watched that movie and you like Michael Ealy, do yourself a favor and do not watch that movie, because you will never forgive him. Like, to this day, I watched that movie when it first came out. I saw it in the movie theater. And to this day, every time I see him, I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, I want to just like reach through the screen and like get him, throw him out a window. Well, we were talking about how that's one of those movies that you watch it once and never again, but you will never forget it either, because it's so traumatizing and it just sticks with you. So that whole movie, I mean, that's the thing about Tyler Perry. Like, his movies are so misogynistic towards women, and like, people need to wake up, because it's always some caricature of something. You know, if she happens to be successful, then she's also, you know, has HIV, or like her husband beats the dog shit out of her every Friday night or something. And it's like, in that movie, he still found a way to make everything the women characters' faults. Like, when the kids got thrown out the damn window, like, they still had Janet Jackson turn around and blame the mom for it. And I was just like, but she was a victim too. Like, what the hell? Give the woman some grace. Like, she just went through the worst thing. She's never going to recover from this. And y'all want to kick her while she's down even more. Like, it was a good movie and the casting was excellent. Don't get me wrong. But like, he can never let a woman character just be a normal person and be successful and not have all kinds of trauma and faults and things like that attached to her. And he pushes struggle of agenda so much. So, oh my God, exactly. Oh, so you was doing the bending? So, no, I will not cover Dan Schneider on my YouTube channel. That's a sure way to get your shit taken down in a hot ass second. So, and Tyler needs to be in jail for his latest movie. Oh, is that the one with Kelly in it? I didn't watch it. He's been making these trash ass movies for over 10 plus years. That's the thing though, you guys. Like, I understand, you know, I understand the one side of it where it's like, wow, how amazing that a black man was able to position himself the way that he has in Hollywood, you know, which is a white man's club. And, you know, he's been able to put a lot of black talent into position. However, sometimes people act like he's creating Steven Spielberg worthy Oscar winning films, and I'm like, where? Because we be making fun of the wigs and the wardrobe and dragging the dialogue and the acting constantly on his projects. And then, you know, on top of it, it's like if you've put yourself in this position of power, why don't you choose better projects to work on? You know, because there's a lot of white filmmakers that do that where it's like, yeah, like they might have used the opportunity of making more like commercially successful films. Like Quentin Tarantino's one of those people, just to like put himself in position and get the money and the power and the connections. And then once he did, he made things that were like important to him. And I'm not saying Quentin Tarantino's like this amazing person. I mean, the moron freaking sat on one of those shows and admitted that everybody in Hollywood knew what Weinstein was up to, but nobody said anything to protect anybody. So he's not a great person. But I'm just saying, you see that happen with a lot of these white people, right? Like, and then they will go make like a Jewish person will make a bunch of Holocaust movies because that's important to them to tell their history or their side of things. Or they'll make a bunch of uplifting, positive stuff. Or you see a lot of white actors and filmmakers talk about how once they had kids, they wanted to make projects that their kids could watch and enjoy. But Tyler hasn't used his power and his position to do that. And that's why I'm just like, can we stop celebrating everybody and really look at, well, what are they actually doing with the power and the money that they do have? And are they truly actually doing anything to help people or to change things for the better? Or are they just playing the same game that everybody else plays? Because if that's your goal, that you just want to be right up there with all the rest of the big boys and you don't give a fuck about anything else other than saying that you're a billionaire and you won a bunch of awards, then fine. But then we don't have to misguidedly celebrate you for saving the culture or putting people on or doing anything good with what you've established, right? And I feel like we need to do that with Beyonce and Jay-Z and, you know, Diddy and all these other people too. It's like, okay, you donated to charity a few times, but you also like damaged the hell out of a lot of freaking people too and caused a lot of misfortune in people's lives. So like the few good things that you did, writing checks here and there, does not negate all of the horrible things that you did. So, well, and when you think about it, Kanye, MJ, Whitney, Prince, Tory Lanez, you know, think about the people that refuse to really truly play the industry games and consistently called them out. Where are they? And how are they doing these days? Chris Brown, you know, a lot of them, it's like they're the ones that don't get the opportunities because, or they're the ones that are constantly dealing with bullshit because they don't want to play the game. So, hey, BB, I haven't seen you on here in so long. I missed you, babe. Yes, Bay Area love always. So, anyways, child, let's get into Porsha and Simon. I just want to see what the cards have to say about this whole situation first and foremost, and then we'll get into questions. You can go ahead and put your questions in the chat, but put question in front of it, please. Kyla, you need need to join the Patreon, babe, because a lot of the stuff that you're like keep bringing up is stuff that we've covered in Patreon. Okay, first thing that's coming up in the underlying energy, Porsha definitely thought Simon had way more money than he does, like, going into this. And listen, I know everybody likes to say, oh, Simon lies and he scams and this and that, which, by the way, guys, I mean, I looked at, like, you know, the court stuff that initially came up, and some of the stuff that they said he did was like when I was like a year old and I'm 41. So I was just like, this doesn't mean that he scammed somebody or wrote a bad check like last week. Like, you know, all the stuff that they said that he did that like gave him a criminal past or whatever. It happened decades ago. You know, I do believe that people make mistakes and they do shit when they're young, and you grow up, obviously, and realize it's not worth it once you have something to lose. But the thing is that Spirit's saying, Simon didn't tell Porsha, oh, I'm worth $185 million or anything crazy like that. Like, Spirit's saying that he was actually really truthful with Porsha about, like, what he does have, and letting her know, like, from the get-go, like, my money is in Africa with my family tied up in trust. Like, it's not up for like consumption over here the way that people think it is, because he kind of felt like she was a gold digger. So it was like, don't get any ideas, you know? So this was just Porsha just hoping that Simon was this big baller and had more than what he did, and not wanting to like listen to what he was saying. It was just like, oh, that's so funny. Sure, yeah, right. Okay, can we go get a mansion? And he's just like, I meant that. So Spirit saying now all of a sudden, you know, she's kind of realizing like, oh, he actually meant that shit. And he was putting the brakes on her spending a lot too, because she didn't have all of the same money coming in the way that she did before, right? And so it's like, oh, well, now that I'm married, I'm going to quit my jobs, but I'm going to increase my spending. And so Simon started telling her, like, yo, if you want certain shit, we can't be, like, buying other things. And that started leading to a lot of arguments between the two of them. And then she just figured that if he's going to have all of these legal issues, it's like, what's the point? You're going to tell me I can't spend money. You don't have the money I thought you did. You're telling me no about shit. Like, this is not what I fucking signed up for. And so Porsha was done. Like, she was not. This is the problem, though, that Spirit's saying. She was in such a place to prove a point to people around her that she just ran right into something with her eyes just sewed right shut. Because Spirit's saying if she had been in a different place, first and foremost, it doesn't matter if Simon was the hottest guy in the world and he actually did have the money that he says that he does. Nobody in their right mind who's a healed person that wants a real relationship and wants to date somebody that just found out that their wife is sleeping with the pool boy. Because there's way too much chance that this man is going to be all kinds of fucked up in the head right now. And he needs to sit down and do his own work, because you're going to end up getting treated like a rebound or a mistress or, you know, a flash in the pan or whatever. Or he's going to use you to show off to the bitch that cheated on him that he could upgrade, and it's not going to be genuine, and you're going to just be dealing with so much bullshit. And somebody that, like, has the mental capacity to see that is going to say that's not some drama that I want to involve myself in. Porsha just was like, he's rich, he's African, he's available now. Oh my God, he needs a shoulder to cry on. Perfect time for me to step in. And because of that, you know, here we go. Like, now that, you know, the veil fell off of your eyes and you realize this man can't become an American citizen. He's not going to just let me do whatever the hell I want. You know, he's not going to spend all of his money on me, and he doesn't have the money that I wanted him to have, and he's probably not going to make it. She's done. Like, Simon holds no attractiveness and no attention. Like, she's so like, ugh, you're gross. Like, Spirit's sake, it's literally like the veil fell off. She's like, nope, everybody was right. You do look like Florida Evans. I do not think you're cute anymore. You're gross. Get away from me. So, this is what's happened in every one of Porsha's relationships, if you guys haven't noticed. It happened with Cordell. It happened with Dennis. She attaches herself to some guy and gets real fucking serious with him real fast because she's looking for a fairy tale. And she has something deep inside of her that needs to be healed. She's probably got daddy issues and looking for her dad in these guys. And she's convoluting it with wanting princess treatment and to live a soft life or to be a baddie because she thinks that's going to fill the void inside. And that's why she keeps ending up in these flash in the pan relationships with men who decide that they don't value her after all, or who may have thought, oh, you know, it was silly and cute when we were just fucking around in the beginning, but can you ever be serious? You know, like, are you ever going to pay for anything yourself? Like, are you ever going to be a grown up about certain things, you know? And then it becomes draining for them to deal with. Don't be surprised if we don't hear all kinds of cheating allegations coming out, because Spirit is saying that both sides are going to feel a need to sort of drag the other person, right? Like, Simon's trying to kind of just like, okay, like, whatever, and not address it at the moment. But the second that Porsha starts leaking negative things about him, he's going to clap back. I mean, if you watched what happened with his divorce with Fallon, like, you should definitely know that Simon will motherfucking clap back. Like, Simon is a sassy bitch when he wants to be, okay? And I don't know if Porsha is going to be able to handle getting dragged by Simon. Because we've seen Porsha get dragged by the other ladies at reunions, and she just sits there like, huh? So I can only imagine Simon dragging her ass and hers being like, what? But, you know, part of it, Spirit saying, is she definitely, and I've talked about this, I believe, like on some of the previous readings that I've done on her whole situation. And, you know, I've said that she, number one, still had some feelings for Simon, not Simon, but Dennis. But a lot of that was more wrapped up in the ego of it, because Porsha thinks that she's so beautiful that, like, these guys should be like, oh my God, I'm with Porsha Williams, I'm never gonna fuck this up, and like kiss the bottom of her shoe every single step that she takes and do anything and everything for her. And Simon, or not Simon, Dennis just treated her like she was a regular chick, and then didn't, you know, go fly helicopters over her house, jumping out and screaming, come back to me, Porsha, the way that she wanted to after they split. And so that was a huge bruise to her ego, because she thought that she was better than him. And so, you know, and then she felt like, oh, the other ladies are looking down on me because they kept warning Porsha about the hot dog man, right? So she felt like, oh, I don't just have a point to prove to Simon or to Dennis, I have a point to prove to all these hoes too. And so that's why she did this. And it's like, girl, you didn't get a prize. And this is just so embarrassing. He's a Gemini. They're very petty. No, Simon definitely needs to heal too. I mean, that's the problem. Both of these two people got together with the intention of trying to, you know, show an ex that they could do better than them. And so it's like, those types of relationships always fall apart because you didn't have anything other than trying to be petty to hold you together in the first place. They're not, but I saw somewhere that they said that something about like she doesn't like dating hot guys or something, that she likes like older, shorter, like more chubby dudes. So I know her daughter is so freaking cute too. And I just do feel bad because it seemed like her daughter liked Simon. I always feel bad, like, you know, when kids are involved and then they have to lose somebody that they became attached to because, like, they don't understand it. And, you know, her daughter is still very young. So the only winner is the next person that is about to be used, despite Porsha and Fallon. She about to get a house, 10 cars in a whole country. Oh my goodness. So, anyways, do we have any other questions on these two? Spirit saying Simon kind of always figured that this would happen, but he just sort of didn't stress about it at the time because he had more of a motivation to like stick it to everybody too. I mean, that's the thing, that it's like both of them in the back of their heads knew this shit wasn't going to work out, but it was just like they were so caught up in the ego of the moment and the attention that they were getting because of it and all of that, that, you know, it was like, whatever, we'll deal with it when we get there, you know, and not thinking ahead. I keep believing she's an undercover lesbian. Her adventures of talking to Candy, the bozo trip, and the girls trip. So all this is weird to me. Didn't she say she's bi? I haven't watched all those, so I don't know everything that you're talking about, Kyla. Because the only one of the Housewives shows that I've been watching is Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because me and Dario are always talking about it, and I like Garcelle, but to be honest with you guys, Candy is insufferable to me. I used to love her in Escape, and by her second season on Housewives, I was like, oh God, girl, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like you after this. And by the third season, I was done with that damn show. She is, now that she's gone, I might watch it again. Maybe I'll try it now that she's coming, you know, that she's gone, but we'll see. I mean, she was just so boring too. And listen, I would love it if Kyle Richards would leave Real Housewives of Beverly Hills because I can't stand her either. So I knew something was wrong with Porsha when she had a threesome with Bolo the stripper on camera. Wait, she had a threesome with a stripper on camera? Oh, maybe I should go back and watch. What season was this? Maybe I'll watch that season. You guys tell me which season that happened on, because now I want to see, like... Yes, Nene and Kenya are definitely super entertaining. And listen, She by Sheree needs to go somewhere. She's annoying too. I'm like, why do y'all keep bringing her back also? Like, she's also insufferable. So this is, listen, I always have seen the Phaedra thing from both sides of the coin, okay? Number one was that incredibly damaging, horrible thing to have said about you. And was Candy completely justified in being upset by that? 100%. But We also don't talk about the fact that a producer told Phaedra to say that shit. Okay? So why is it that Phaedra is the one that took all the blame and we hate her forever? Because especially if you do watch anything with these former housewives and people that have been around the housewives and stuff that they talk about, and Carlos King himself talks about it, that the producers, when they get competitive, because each person on a cast has their own producer, right? So say for instance, if Carlos was still working on the Real Housewives and Porsha is his person that he's assigned to, and she's just dry and boring, he's gonna be like, you need to go get in a fight with Kendra right now. You know what that bitch said about you in her confessional yesterday? She said that you are stupid and ugly and you can't do anything right. And he's gonna get her all riled up so that she'll go make a scene. And then, because it's not just about like, oh, we have to do this for our job, but they also get competitive amongst themselves. And apparently the producers will be like, well, my person got more screen time than yours this season, and that kind of shit. So obviously Phaedra had a producer that was that type of a producer that wanted to gas her up to make her make a scene so that they could take credit for it. Why don't we hold that person as much accountable as we do Phaedra? Yes, Phaedra could have sat there and said, I'm not going to participate in this, but I'm just saying, to lump everything all on her, I think is unfair. Well, exactly. Then the T.I. and Tiny situation came out, and listen, also, on top of it, didn't she like have a whole freaking thing that was like come to my dungeon tour or something like that, and then she sold like a bunch of toys and like ropes and all kinds of dungeon related shit like after that? Because I'm like, girl, didn't you like pretty well financially profit off of that whole situation also? I know, like, listen, I like I said, it was fucked up from every situation. I just don't think that Phaedra needs to shoulder all of the blame in that. I think that, she could have, other people were involved and definitely needed to also, be held accountable as well. And it was fucked up, though, of Candy to sit there and act like she was such a good friend to Phaedra and to know that her ex-husband was doing all that crazy shit and to still be friends with him. Like, I'd be pissed too. I'm not saying I would go say something like that about you. I probably just wouldn't fuck with you anymore. But I can understand why Phaedra would be upset with Candy also. I'm a Libra, and I'm not a fan of any of these people anyways at the end of the day. So I'm always just on the side of the truth, and I'm always looking at both situations, trying to figure out, and not everybody's always, there's not always somebody that's right in any given situation. Sometimes everybody fucked up. Oh, I'm sorry, no, Porsche. Yeah, Scorpios will definitely hold a damn grudge against you. And they definitely expect loyalty from people. So, all right, guys, let's move on to Normani. Do we have a release date for when her album is coming out, guys? Because I forgot to even look that up. Because I just thought of it right now, because I know like we have so many big artists that are releasing, this year and around the same time, because we've got Beyonce's country album, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, and, then a bunch of other artists too that are kind of on that same level as Normani that are also dropping. So, okay. Well, I know that they said 2024, but I was just wondering if they gave us a specific month, because I was like, girl, please, like, let's just set the springtime out. Because if you try to drop at the same time that Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift are dropping, and Miley, you know, it's like you're definitely gonna end up getting lost in the sauce. So her fans waited 6 years. She needed to bring it. I know. You saw it said December. Well, why would you even announce right now then? And why would you like release a snippet and start teasing your first single if you're not going to release for 10 more months? Because people have such short attention spans these days that, you know, a lot of artists, like back in the day, they would do that. Like you would get singles from an album like a year in advance, and you know, they would drop multiple singles before the album itself would be released. And then they would continue to drop more singles off the album after it's released. And nowadays it's like you get all the singles in like a month and then the album's dropped and then they go on tour. There's no more. It's just like so weird. She teased Wild Side 9 months before it dropped. Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realize that she did, but that was during the pandemic too. So Beyoncé was getting dragged up and down her Instagram and TikTok with that hairline she's trying to sell. Oh my God, you guys. I like was reading something. Somebody said on like something I was looking at. I don't know if it was on Threads or Reddit or something, and they linked the website. And so I clicked on it and I was just like, didn't this just come out? How do they have like 80 reviews on some of these products? And I was clicking on the reviews. It was because they were paid incentive reviews from months back. And I was just like, okay, are people going to bring that up and talk about that? Because isn't that payola? And isn't that, you know, kind of a little bit disingenuous because they had all of the reviews had the disclaimer of this was, you know, an incentivized review or some shit like that. So I'm just saying, if Rihanna did that, everybody would drag her for filth, but nobody's saying anything when it's Beyonce. If Nicki did that with her nail line when it pops out, and she came out and released the website tomorrow, and there was already 80 reviews on each product, and each one said this was an incentivized review, people would be like, Nicki was paying for good reviews on her website, look. But it's Beyonce, so nobody's gonna say anything, right? Yep, protect your crown chakra, you guys. Protect your crown chakra. So let's see. Spirit, what can you tell me about Normani's upcoming release? Thank you. I like that Nicki is going to do short and long in the nails because I can't do them super long nails, and I know a lot of people can't because, I mean, you guys see it's hard enough for me to like shuffle the damn cards anyways. Like, can you imagine me hitting long ass nails on these over and over? I've tried that. How many nails I freaking broke and how much it hurt. Every time I'd shuffle the cards and they'd hit the back of the nails and I'm like, ah. That's actually why I stopped getting my nails done. I used to go get my nails done all the time. I kept a set. But when I started like doing readings full time, I stopped getting my nails done like that because I would just ruin my nails with the damn cards or they would hurt so bad. So, plus I wash my hands 1,000 times a day and nails don't last through that as well sometimes. Press-ons do though, I've noticed, like more than acrylic. Acrylic, for some reason, it would always end up like breaking down, and it didn't matter who I went to or what products they used. But I've noticed like when I have used press-ons, like they can handle like getting washed all the time. It's just obviously they you know, pop off when you're doing stuff and you have to keep gluing them back on, so that gets annoying. I hate long ass nails. That's the length of a hot dog. Oh my God. Right? Like those ones that like Carlos and like Clover have. I'm just like, how do you live, girl? Like, I would poke my eye out or accidentally like scratch my face and look like I got attacked by Freddy Krueger in the middle of the night, because I've woken up where I've had scratches on myself because I itched in my sleep, and I'm like, oh my God, if I had them long ass nails, I'd probably wake up and there'd be blood all over the bed because I would have like ripped myself apart. Bella would have nails tangled in her hair, cards flying everywhere. BB, that's exactly how it would be too, I promise you, on everything. Nikki's Perfume and Tyler, the creator's Perfume, both have amazing reviews. Yes, Nikki's Perfume smells really good. And all of Nikki's perfumes have all smelled really good. I didn't even know Tyler, the creator, had one. Yeah, you know what? I have the body spray. I think it's the Pink Friday body spray. And surprisingly, like, the lasting power on it and the projection is honestly just as good as like some of my designer expensive like actual like perfumes that I paid like money for. Because Roses by Chloe is one of my favorite scents, but like the lasting power on it and the projection on it is really not the best. Although Nomad, Chloe, and Love Story all have super like long lasting and project a lot. And I would say that honestly, my Pink Friday lasts on me just as long as the Chloe Nomad. So, but it definitely outlasts the Roses one for sure. So, oh, I was wondering what happened. Okay, I don't know. It's not giving me like the option to like untime her out. So I'm sorry, Teddy. Sana timed you out, but babe, I don't know why or what happens. So, anyways, going back to Miss Normani, um, not the white diamonds. I heard that too from a lot of people that what do you call the Beyonce's last perfume that she just put out smelled like bug spray mixed with white diamonds, and I was like, oh God, that's bad. So listen, Liz Taylor had all of our grandmas in a chokehold with that damn white diamonds though, so like let's give her some flowers for that. Alrighty. This is gonna be a really big uphill battle for Normani to reestablish herself, you guys. And it does suck because I think that Normani is a much better singer and a much better dancer, and she obviously, like, compared to some of these newer girls that have kind of popped up, you know, in her absence, she has the artist development, the stage presence, all of that kind of stuff naturally because of her time in the girl group. So she has that edge over them. But then, you know, her being gone for so long also like took that edge away at the same time, if that makes sense. And so Spirit is saying that now she's walking into a situation where if she would have came out and really been able to push forward during like the motivation era, that would have been amazing for her. But now there are so many other girls like her that she has to compete with and make herself stand out against, that that's going to be really hard for her, because people are going to pin her against Chloe and Halle. They are going to pin her against Tyla. They are going to say things like, well, that was lackluster. Like, why'd we wait 6 years? Or we didn't care anymore. So, I feel her being really disappointed and really heartbroken. You know, the same way that like how Chloe was really disappointed, you know, when her album didn't do the numbers that she wanted it to. I feel Normani having that same kind of energy around this. And listen, I know some people are going to hate me and y'all are going to think that I'm just saying this because, you know, he's one of my favorite artists. But I think one of these girls, either Chloe or Normani, needs to go work with Kanye, because Kanye is really good at pushing people to find their sound and to do something that's going to set them apart. And he's been lauded as one of the best producers to work with female vocalists, because they always say that he's able to like take their voices and like do really great things with them. And I said this in Patreon about like, I could only imagine if you had Kanye's production with like Chloe Bailey, like he would take her vocal layering and probably just create her a whole beat out of her own voice and then have her sing over it, and it would be so freaking dope, you know. And honestly, if Chloe's not going to, Normani should. Somebody needs to. And I was going to say, and Teyana Taylor is somebody else that would be great at doing that too, because Teyana is, you know, and maybe this is why her and Kanye work so well together, or why maybe she learned it from him. Teyana is good at finding the star within the person and bringing that out of them. You know, that's why she's turned all of these girls like into better stage performers. But I don't know if she's going to be great at being able to like help her with her own sound. But Brandy would be somebody who would be a good person to help develop some of these vocalists too. Because when you think about it, we've seen Brandy got all that help from Whitney fucking Houston herself. And so, you know, maybe instead of shitting on the older people in the industry and calling them washed up or just only wanting to steal their samples, why don't you work with some of them and let them help you out with some artist development? Which, by the way, I just have to say this too, off topic. Well, kind of off topic, but since we're talking about artist development and Kanye. Or should I say Ye? Because he told all of us on Instagram this morning he does not want to be called Kanye anymore. I apologize. I saw in one of the fan pages that somebody said, you know, because it was a clip of North on stage with him at the listening parties that he did in Italy. And somebody said, we're watching true artist development take place with Kanye and North, you know, in real time. And I was like, that is so true, though, because he really is. He's taking what she's good at and pulling it out of her and helping her find herself. And trust me, we all can say whatever the fuck we want about Kanye and Kim and take sides and not. Kim would not be able to help guide North in any of her creative endeavors, because Kim is not creative in one iota unless it's being creative and trying to smear somebody so that she can use it to her advantage to play victim. But and even most of that has probably come up with her mom, by her mom anyways. She's just the person that puts it into action. So, you know, I was like, we're going to see North is going to end up being an incredible artist herself, the way that her dad's working with her like that. Dude, I be singing North verse too all the time. It's your bestie, Miss Westie. Just bless me. Don't test me. Just bless me. So, what a beautiful thing to have your father grow your creative side, especially since he's the one responsible for your gifts. You know, I've always said that Kanye is a very spiritually important person, not just for himself, but for the world. And I was just thinking, you know, him and North have such a strong spiritual connection. It's really North, Donda, and Kanye. Like they have traveled through so many lifetimes together. You know, that's when you see when somebody is with like their true soul tribe, they have that relationship and that connection. And, you know, when you think about it, like as much as people can crap on him and stuff, he is a great dad. All his kids love him. And he's the dad that she needs. Like she could not have survived in this life if she had any other parent. And I don't think any other parent could handle her either. Like, let's be honest. So, but and also you guys, I just thought it was funny too because I saw some clip and I guess somebody asked her who was her favorite aunt and she said Courtney and everybody was like, of course she would, just to piss off her mom. Just because that's how North is. Like, oh, you don't like Courtney? That's my favorite aunt. I want to spend every second of every day with her now just to piss you off. And you know, it probably does kill Kim because everybody constantly says that North looks like Courtney and Kanye had a baby together. And Kim was always trying to convince everybody that like North looked like her, but then she gave that up when she got Chicago, who actually does look like her. But up until then, like she was trying so hard to convince everybody that North looked like her, and everybody was like, she looks like her dad, she looks like Donda, and she looks like Courtney. Looks like the three of them got together and made her. Like, we don't see any of you can. North is an entirely different child around her daddy. And when she's talking about him, if you ever notice, like her face changes, her energy changes. Like Kanye just, you know, the moon hangs on him as far as North is concerned. And it's so cute too. I was like, oh, I wish I had a dad that I could have been like that with. I think all those girls that with daddy issues were all like triggered, like, I want a dad like that. That believed in me like that. So anyways, but going back to Normani, you know, I think that she's gonna have like a few little like hits with this, as in, you know, the same way that again, I think her numbers will do better than Chloe Bailey's. I don't think she's only gonna do 2,000 units. I think it'll be a little bit more, but I still feel it being lackluster and not getting like rave reviews from fans, as well as not doing the best, you know, charting wise and all of that. I wouldn't be surprised though, you guys, if she doesn't end up still ending her contract with RCA sometime after this album comes out. Like 6 months to a year afterwards, them parting ways, because it's like, oh, you know, she's wants to blame it on taking more creative control over her career, but the truth is really going to be because of the numbers and, you know, things not working out. Or if she's signed to RCA, right? Also, something else that's coming up is Spirit saying, remember, there is a 7-year clause with these contracts. That's why all of a sudden Carlos is dropping a single. You guys, I'm going to tell you with her right now, whether or not we get an album from Carlos is all going to hinge on Spirit saying they'll put out like 2 or 3 singles of hers. They're testing the waters to see, is the GP going to support an album, or is it a waste of our time and money to do that? So Carlos better get her shit together and pick out some damn good fucking songs to release if she wants to keep her contract going, because they're at that point where either side could end up dropping out of it at some point in this year. Normani obviously is also in that 6 year, almost 7 year, part where either side can then dissolve the contract. So I feel like there was a push all of a sudden to suddenly take her off the shelf and push her out there and see, like, can they make something of this before that contract ends? It's just, this is the thing, guys, that I hate. I see the Hermit card representing where she's been, and then it's like the comeback is the Tower card. And the Seven of Cups. It's like a bunch of empty, broken promises and wishes that are not fulfilled. It's just, I hate that. I hate that for her because, Normani is talented, but this is the thing that always comes up when I do readings on Normani, you guys. She's lazy. She really is, and she's not a super motivated person, which is entirely ironic that she had a song called Motivation, because I honestly don't think she wants this as bad as she thinks she does. I feel like she thinks she has to do this. If you guys have noticed, if you go on a lot of the posts where everybody was announcing all of a sudden Normani is coming out, right? The one thing that I kept seeing repeatedly in the comments was people saying that she doesn't have that it factor. And she doesn't have that star thing, that people aren't like drawn into her. And I went and I watched some of her performances, and you know what I picked up? She doesn't have the passion for it. That's what it is. There's like a dead eye thing going on with her where it looks like sometimes she's going through the motions, and it's like she's able to still do all the dance moves and sing on tune, and all of that, but you don't connect to it because she's not connected to it. And it feels like, I would say from my psychic perception, I think honestly, all the shit that she went through in Fifth Harmony and the fallout afterwards, I think it killed her passion for this. And I think because of everything that she's got going on with her parents, she's felt like, number one, I have fans. People pushed me to this. I worked my ass off to get to this point, and this is what could give me the resources to take care of my family and, all of that stuff. So it's like you feel obligated because it's like, isn't it a waste of an opportunity even though you no longer want that opportunity? That's how I feel. And maybe it's depression, and guess what? Like, she's been through a lot of shit, so I don't blame her for being depressed and anxious, but there's no motivation and no like energy to her when you connect to her energetically, where you're like, oh, Normani wants this. Normani's hungry for this. Normani's gonna get out there and do whatever she can because this is her moment finally. The same way that I felt with Doja or Lady Gaga or even Chloe Bailey, where it's like, they're like, put me in, coach, it's my turn, I'm ready to go up to bat. Like, she's not like that. So, and I definitely think that, management and the teams that she has around her, and guess what? Like, if both of your parents are sick with cancer, that's a lot to deal with. That is a lot to deal with. So, like, no, and the racism and all the other horrible shit that she went through, in the industry, like, that's a hell of a lot to deal with. So I'm not shitting on her for that. I'm just saying, that's what is that missing thing. So as much as, people can blame things on RCA, the thing is, she could have been doing, I know people were like, oh, Normani's in her influencer era. She really honestly didn't do that many brand promos. She didn't do a whole lot of social media stuff. And she could have been doing all of that. Like, okay, if they're not going to let you release music, then like go start making a bunch of YouTube blogs, because at least you can do that in your spare time, have an income, take care of your parents, stay at the forefront and connected to your fan base. And that's the thing that I think a lot of these newer artists need to also keep in mind and remember too. Because then you end up in a Normani situation, or you end up like Robot, where Normani lost a hell of a lot of her fans, let's be honest, you know, and so many people are just like, whatever, I don't care anymore. Because she was gone and she didn't remain connected in a sense. Beyonce, now when she wants to go outside and say hi to everybody, everybody's like, oh my God, is she possessed by a demon? Is there an alien inside of her? Does somebody give her drugs? Why is she talking to us? And that's also why she can't sell anything, you know? So these artists, if for any reason, because guess what? Life is gonna fucking happen. You're gonna have a baby, somebody's gonna die in your family, you're gonna get sick, you're gonna have creative blocks. There's gonna be shit that's gonna take you away from being front and center at times, because that is how life works. In the meantime, stay connected to your fans. Nikki still fed us while she was gone. We still got Queen radios. She would still come on live. She would still post shit on Twitter and talk to everybody. And that's why, you know, Chris Brown does the same thing. And that's why, even though these people are canceled by the industry, they still are able to do things. That's why Kanye has so much support right now, that he's releasing albums independently. If you want to talk about being canceled and blackballed, Kanye is canceled and blackballed, and he still is charting. He's still selling out arenas. He's still able to headline Rolling Loud. He's sold $20 million worth of merchandise in one day on his page because he has involved his fans in all of this. He literally gets on his Instagram and he's like, you guys, everybody's suing me, and starts talking to us like we're a part of like his life and we're involved in it. And we're just like, okay, Kanye, let's go support you. Fuck them for doing this to you. That's the best thing that an artist can do. Because these people think that they're your family. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of these stans are delusional anyways, and they develop these imaginary parasocial relationships with their celebrity that they like. But that's how the celebrity is able to maintain a career regardless of whatever the industry wants to do to them, if you keep that connection with your fans. If Normani had stayed connected with everybody this entire time, put out a newsletter once a month, you know, post things on a semi-regular basis on Instagram, do a monthly YouTube vlog, and let everybody know how you're doing, she would have kept her fans invested in her life. She would have picked up new fans. And now she would have walked into people being really excited, and they would have been emotionally attached to this project because they would have been involved in it from the entire time. We saw how you had to take a step back. We supported you because we saw all the stress you were going through taking care of your family. You kept telling us, hey, I'm working on stuff. We got excited for you. So now, because we've watched the evolution of this, we're so excited for the project to come out, right? So people need to keep that in mind if they want long-lasting careers in this industry. No, it doesn't cross her mind. Her team never told her to do this, Hannah. That's why I'm saying, like, most of these people, too, a lot of times we talk about, like, oh, people have, like, stupid people around them and bad teams. Because you know why? They hire, what's her face, Precious or Peaches or whatever the hell that girl is that was, like, friends with Carlos, you know, from back in the day, and let them do their PR. They let people like Arrogant Tay, who's supposed to be there to put a wig on their head, start dictating to them what the creative direction of their next project should be. They bring all their homies along and start giving them jobs. And it's like, okay, we understand you want to give people chances, but we also need to think about the fact that if you don't have a career, you can't help your friends. So maybe sometimes go get somebody that knows what they're doing, that's been doing this for 20, 30 years. The reason why they've been doing this for 20, 30 years is because they know what they're doing and they can actually help you, right? So, but she didn't, it never crossed her mind. You know, that's the thing too. None of these people are, I mean, this is why a lot of people have said throughout the years that if you're going to be a celebrity, like you should at least take a marketing or a business class, you know, just one at least to sort of get an idea of like what you should be doing, you know, to help your own self. So it doesn't cross their minds that they need to do stuff. No, hon, I told you the album is not going to do very well. Kyla, there's been so many people throughout the history of the industry that have done that. I mean, look at Carlos. She burned her own self out. She's another person that was lazy. If she would have just gone on that goddamn tour with Bruno Mars and dropped, you know, even a couple mixtapes or something in the meantime to hold her fans over, she wouldn't be in the situation that she's in right now either, where she's doing Walmart ads, trying to pay the bills and getting evicted for not paying rent and shit like that. So there's a lot of artists that fuck up their own careers because they're lazy or they don't make the most of the opportunities or they let the wrong people direct them and advise them. They need to take a class from Sweetie. She's a marketing genius and she has a degree. That's the thing. That's the thing. As much as people can shit on my girl Sweetie, and listen, justice for Sweetie. You know, I was listening to her new song. It's great. I love her Pretty Bitch freestyle too. If we can uplift people like Sexy Red and Carisha, why are we always shitting on Sweetie? I can understand Sweetie. I can understand the things that she's rapping about. She's, you know, a pretty girl and she's good at marketing, and at least she does write some of her own verses, even if she doesn't completely write the whole thing herself. Like she goes to artist boot camp. She goes to writers camp. She goes and, you know, hangs out with the OGs of the industry like Snoop to learn from them. So I think, you know, we need to be nice to Sweetie. And if we're going to give space for all these other untalented hoes, then Sweetie deserves her spot in the industry as much as anybody else. Because we've all supposedly, you know, decided collectively that we're going to uplift untalented people. Say what you want, but Sweetie's more talented than most of these people that we're sitting here, you know, being like, oh my God, look at that. So, anyways, guys, let's move on to Wendy Williams. So, first and foremost, guys, let's just talk about something real quick. Little Kevin was not stealing from his mother. Okay, and when you think about it, when people really think about it, and you know what's really going on, and I had a whole conversation with Rolling Ray of all people about this. Shout out to Rolling Ray. Is that okay? When they were making a big deal about this $100,000 Uber Eats thing, do we forget that number one, you can order a lot of shit off of Uber Eats and Postmates, not just, you know, McDonald's and things like that people think, I guess. Like, you can get your groceries, you can get your medicine, you can get your soap, like anything that's at a store that you can walk in and buy, you can get it delivered through there. And Wendy was staying with him during this time period. And like I pointed out in my conversation with Rolling Ray, I think it was on the Shade Room comments, or it was on It's On Site, it was one of those. If he would have been dragging Wendy out to the store in the condition that she was in, people would have been saying that he was taking advantage of his sick mother. And why couldn't he leave her at home? And obviously the kid felt like he couldn't leave her by herself. And she was telling him to order all this stuff because she was staying with him. Actually, $100,000 in an entire year on Postmates and Uber Eats, getting everything delivered to you because you're a celebrity and you can't leave the house because the paparazzi are going to come bother you, and you're a kid and you don't want to leave your mother who is struggling with alcoholism and other health issues by herself in the house. Come on. And especially they were living in Miami. I mean, Jesus Christ, if I pulled up my like Walmart delivery app thing, it probably would look pretty fucking sad too. And I don't have anywhere near Wendy's money, but that shit just adds up, right? So that was just a justification from Wells Fargo so that they could wrestle control over Wendy's money away from her family and put their guardian in place, because the same way that the industry put Britney Spears in a conservatorship and Amanda Bynes and tried to do it to Kanye, they were going to do the same shit to Wendy. Okay? Yeah, she was actually with it, and she was doing so well when she was with her son, and they made her go back and lied to her and told her that she had to go back so that she could go back to the show and that they were going to continue the show, only to cancel it on her and then stick her under that damn conservatorship. So the one thing, you know, that I will say, and this is why if you go back and you watch all of my videos from the very beginning where I was talking about Britney's conservatorship, I said, you know, number one, I've seen conservatorships in place in person because I worked in mental health and we had a conservatorship office like at the behavioral health center. But at the same token, all of the people that I ever like saw that were under a conservatorship definitely could not take care of themselves. Like, they talked to people that weren't there and had like extremely advanced, you know, schizophrenia and dementia and things like that. They didn't just have bipolar disorder the way that they tried to use for Kanye and Britney as justification to put them under those. So, you know, I've always said if this could happen to a rich white woman like Britney Spears, then everybody needs to be concerned, because at any given moment it could happen to any of us. And that's, Wendy said the same thing, you know, that she said the reason why she was talking about this was because if it could happen to her, it could happen to anybody. And so, you know, that's where we're at with this. And let me tell you guys, Wendy is being spiritually attacked. I'm going to just be really fucking real with you. And there's also another reason why I kept this until the end. Honestly, this doesn't even require any reading. I'm just telling you guys straight up. Wendy is under spiritual attack. She has been for a very long time. The second that Diddle Bop went on her show and handed her that shot for them to make up, that was when she was, all of this began for her. Whatever was in that shot that he gave her, she needed to drink it for the spell to work. And the same, and just so you guys know, the only reason why Wendy was ever given that TV show was because the industry wanted to shut her the fuck up, and they couldn't. Wendy was out here exposing the Eastern Stars and the Freemasons and the Illuminati and the Diddle Bops back on that show. I have talked about, I did not have the greatest childhood, number one, and I used to spend a lot of time in my room with the radio as my only friend. I used to hide in the closet and listen to Wendy Williams because I knew if I got caught listening to that show, I'd get in so much trouble. And I was like 12 years old and discovered her. And for some reason, it was, you know, her show was syndicated. So, like, I was able to listen to it in Stockton, California. And I used to hide in the closet and listen on my little Walkman and listen to her show. And I literally remember, because at that time, that movie, The Craft, was like a big deal, right? So everybody would always want to go to the library and try to find books on magic and become witches themselves. I was in the library looking for Freemason handbooks and Eastern Star books because I wanted to know what the hell that was that Wendy was talking about on her show. So when I always say Wendy has been a huge influence on me even being where I am today and doing this, I really mean it in more ways than one. And we need to give her flowers, because if it wasn't for Wendy, there never would have been a Perez Hilton or anybody like me, Lovely T, Tasha K, any of us that would be able to sit up here and talk, about these people and just say the truth and be like, you know what, they suck and we're not going to kiss their butts. This ain't E.T. and People magazine over here, So they couldn't shut Wendy up because she was way too fucking popular, and they could kick her off every radio station, but there was always going to be another one that was going to give her a job. The way that they controlled her was put her on TV, because when you are on TV in general, but especially daytime TV, you can't get on there and, be like, what's up, bitches and motherfuckers? And you have to behave yourself because of the advertisers and the ratings and all of the, FTC guidelines and shit like that. So therefore, Wendy had to really tone down her snark about people, and she couldn't sit up there and be like, well, guess what? Somebody told me that Diddy was having a party with a bunch of men last night, the way that she used to get on the radio show and do, right? She had to just be like, well, Future's baby mama took him to court for child support again, and keep it to more of the People magazine, the ET type of topics, and tone down her snark. So that was never enough for the diddles, who had a hell of a lot of shit to hide. And on top of it, this Wendy being on that show, she got a book, she had a reality show, like all these other opportunities started coming to her. And then that was putting a spotlight on who is Wendy and why is she so wildly popular. And people started discovering, oh, she had a radio show? Oh my God, she used to say this, she used to do that, she did this. And it started bringing up his old dirt all over again. Because Diddy has, the reason why Diddy's gotten away with everything that he has for so fucking long is because anytime throughout the years that he felt like somebody was on his shit too much, he got them destroyed or taken out or something else. So, and he holds grudges. He's a Scorpio. We just talked about Scorpios expect loyalty. They expect you to do what they want, and they will hold a motherfucking grudge, and they will get your ass back one way or another. It doesn't take, they don't care if it takes them 300 million years. They will reincarnate to come back in another life and fuck you up for what you did to them 12 centuries ago. So he definitely was determined that he was going to get rid of Wendy one way or another. That he's not the only person in the industry that's had it out for her, but what do they always do in this industry too? What do they always do in this industry to the people who tell the truth? The Anne Heches, the Aaron Carters, the Kanyes, the Whitneys, the Michaels, the Prince, the Wendys. They want you to believe that they're crazy. They do everything that they can to spiritually attack that person. They do everything that they can to get that person addicted to something so that they can hold that over them and control them with it and get rid of them with it if they need to later. Remember when Kanye told everybody that he got hooked on opiates, and that he said when he was in the studio, when somebody handed him a pill and they said that's a creativity killer, and it kicked into him that they were going to use that to control him and get rid of him if they needed to? Why do you think everybody around Wendy, because Wendy has always, this is the one thing I always respect from Wendy. Wendy owns her shit. She straight up will get on there and be like, yeah, motherfuckers, I had lipo. That's why I'm skinny now. Yup, I used to do coke. Yup, I had an alcohol problem. Like, Wendy owns her shit, and she always says, because I talk about everybody else, I gotta own my own shit, and I will tell my own shade, and y'all can talk about me the same way that I talk about you. Like, I've always so much respected that from her, because she stood 10 toes down, was like, fair is fair. That's a Cancer for you, right? So they, they knew what Wendy's weaknesses were, though. Her husbands and substances. They made sure that they exposed that husband for cheating on her. They made sure that when that inevitable moment of weakness was going to come, because let's be honest, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. If I went through what Wendy did in her marriage and publicly, yeah, I'd probably drink a hell of a fucking lot of wine too to get through it. And I don't even like drinking. Like, I am not somebody that drinks. I'm the person that will, like, somebody buys me a drink and I, like, hold on to it all night and then put it down and one sip was taken out of it because I don't like being drunk. I would be so fucking drunk if I was her. And it would, because that's, you can't cope with that kind of stuff. Like, we can all be honest that we know, like, we would choose to fuck up too in bad situations. And they took advantage of that. That's why all those people, did you not see, because this is the thing that people also don't realize and remember. Yes, her mother passed away around that time too, which added another knife in the chest. Wendy's son went away to school at the same time too, and all of a sudden she's isolated. And then on top of it, because Kevin was such a big part of not just her life, personally, but he managed her, he was a producer, that him getting pushed out of the way left an opening for them to stick in all of these handlers and, let's face it, Harley Pasternak type of people that Kanye told us that the industry does to people, that they place people around you and they tell you, this is your physical trainer, this is your new assistant, this is your, new manager, but really that person is there to make sure that you're plied with whatever your drug of choice is, or whatever, or to make your ass get out on that stage. Like, look at Scooter Braun. Look at how he treats his artists. Oh, Kanye, you're in the middle of a breakdown. Let's put you on a tour. Oh, Ariana, you're struggling because of the Manchester incident and Mac Miller. You need to go record 2 albums back to back and go on 2 tours back to back. That'll help you heal, because Scooter capitalizes knowing, oh, everybody's going to be interested in you because of this tragedy, so that's going to make me a bunch of money. But also, just in case you unalive yourself some way or another, I could squeeze every last penny out of you before that happens and then make all the in memoriam money afterwards because you didn't live long enough to fire me. That's what the type of people that Wendy had around her. A bunch of Harley Pasternaks and a bunch of Scooter Brauns that were going to prop her up and drag her out onto a podcast or a show when she clearly was not able to do it. And she needed a good long break to heal and take care of herself. And they just figured, we'll milk her until she can't be milked anymore, and then we'll just abandon her or get rid of her and make that in memoriam money. Because if you guys haven't ever noticed, when somebody passes away, what happens? All of their music starts charting. They get diamond plaques suddenly because everybody's going and listening to their last album. Everybody's watching their movie. Everybody's buying their book suddenly. And usually whoever ends up in charge of these people's estates is some slimy fucking lawyer or manager that people didn't like anyways. And then they're the ones that are really profiting off of all of the in memoriam streams and purchases. So no, they're not, because they're not helping her with her daily needs, Hannah, because you know why? They realize that she's too far gone. So instead it was, let's just let her burn herself out. Why do you guys think also? Because there is a thing called predictive programming. And again, patreon.com/psychicbellalove. Also, if you want your own personal private reading, psychicbellalove.com. They release all of these stories through TMZ and whatnot in preparation of whatever is going to happen next, right? So they have to like program us into, oh, well, it makes sense that that person had an OD because, you know, all these people kept coming out and saying that every time that they saw them, they, you know, were just so out of it, and everybody knew that they'd been struggling lately and trying, you know, or they'd gone to rehab a couple times in the past. And so that's why, you know, they'll sit there. And so they were doing that this whole time. There was so many stories that constantly kept coming out that when Wendy wasn't, you know, in the hospital because her Graves' disease and lymphedema, that she was in rehab, or that she was locked in her apartment drinking 2 bottles of wine every night. They were programming us so that way when the inevitable story comes out that Wendy is no longer here, because that is their plan for this woman, everybody's going to say, oh, she drank herself to death. She don't have no dementia. This is what a spiritual attack looks like. And guess what? Spiritual attacks too, you guys, they will make people fall back into addiction or fall prey to addiction. That's why I tell everybody, don't take shit from people if you know that they don't like them. I will never eat food from somebody that doesn't like me. If I go to a restaurant and for some reason the girl behind the counter that took my order is giving me a stink face, I'm just gonna fucking walk out. I'm not touching that damn food. Because the easiest way to put roots on somebody is to get them to consume something. And usually when it's real, true, like black magic or some sort of binding ritual or something like that, they need you to consume something because they really want that rooted inside of you. And that's usually when people deal with physical ailments and stuff like that. And listen, guys, just for the most part, normal, regular, schmegular people, the spiritual attacks that y'all deal with is not somebody going to a witch doctor in Haiti and paying a fortune and having people sacrifice chickens at midnight and call upon demons to come and get you. Most people's spiritual attacks are either your own dumbass choices, your karma, having the wrong people around you, not being healed and making the wrong decisions, or just, you know, jealousy and normal, like people putting an evil eye on you. It's more so we see higher profile people like this that are dealing with people who really worship Satan to have everything that they have. They're the ones, obviously, that are, you know, like the Wendy is going to have to really, truly deal with like a real, you know, curse and jinx and things like that. But for the most part, I mean, even if, say, me and Sana got into it and I was like, I'm going to light a bunch of candles on her, do you think it's going to do anything to her? Probably not, because her ancestors are going to block it, because karmically she didn't do anything to deserve that. You know, it's very different, guys. So yes, if somebody got the right people around Wendy, they definitely can help her. I mean, I told you guys Kanye's breakdowns were spiritual attacks. It wasn't, you know, because he was going through the opioid withdrawals. God knows, Harley probably put some shit in some damn water that he gave him during one of his workouts or something, and that's what triggered him to flip out. Also, Kanye, too, a lot of times the MK Ultra wears off on him, and then he starts glitching out and telling the truth, too. So, but yeah, I mean, if they had I know that there are people in the industry that have been spiritually attacked and gone to certain places and got that shit taken off, and I won't say who they are because that would just put them at risk again, and we don't want that. But there's definitely, I mean, you know, that's what you gotta, That's why everybody in the industry, I tell you guys all the time too, participates in different levels of spirituality. And I gotta get off of here in a few minutes. Um, because you're dealing with a bunch of people that all have their own private witch doctors or are witches themselves. And that not only are they, they're not practicing what we practice, Santeria and Palo Mayombe and stuff like that. Like they're straight up like Luciferians and like sacrificing things to demons to have everything. So the people have to have their own practitioners to spiritually protect them. Otherwise, you guys, I mean, really, if they did it, the only artist that we would have to listen to would probably be Beyonce and Jay-Z and Diddy. Like, let's just be dead ass honest. If nobody else had any spiritual protection on them, we would literally only be allowed to listen to Texas Hold'em and Lemonade and whatever fucking bullshit that Robot and Jay-Z put out, because they, in their quest to be the number ones, they would just get rid of everybody and be like, they don't need anybody else. Everybody's gonna just only be forced to listen to us forever. So, okay, Spirit saying her sister is trustworthy, her dad is, the brother no, her son definitely. And you guys also just, to answer this, little Kevin is not taking money from Wendy and giving it to Big Kev, nor is Big Kev in any way, shape, or form able to manipulate little Kevin into doing certain things for him, because I've seen that theory floating around. Little Kevin barely talks to his dad, if y'all didn't know that. And the only reason why he did have any sort of relationship with him was really because Wendy still wanted him to. And at one point, she was, somewhat more friendly with Big Kev again. I think that has ended, but it was around the time that her mom died and he was there for her. So she was sort of letting him kind of creep back in for a minute. But Lil Kevin beat the absolute, you guys know that he got arrested because he beat the shit out of his dad, right? Like that was a whole thing that happened. It was a big old scandal, like right after like the whole Sharina Hudson situation happened, that they, I guess, went somewhere and publicly, like, I guess he said some shit and the kid got mad and was like, you're not gonna fucking disrespect my mom anymore, and like jumped on him and beat the crap out of him in some parking lot. And then they said that little Kevin like tells Big Kev off like on the fucking regular and tells him to stop fucking talking about his mom and like leave her alone. And that when he was like trying to go file all those lawsuits, that little Kevin was like, you better fucking not, like my mom don't need this shit. They said he can't stand his dad. He reminds me of North in that sense, that it's like, just because you're my parent doesn't mean I'm automatically gonna just like put up with whatever. Like if you're fucking with my other parent, like I'm gonna call you out on that shit too. I mean, that's good because that shows that these are children that cannot be easily manipulated, because unfortunately a lot of times parents are able to manipulate a kid and alienate the other parent. And that's, of course, what Kim would love, to alienate those kids from Kanye, especially North. Oh my God, that would be her dream come true, because then she could make North do whatever she wanted. So, anyways, guys, I'm going to answer this last question and then we're done. Does he know that this is a spiritual attack and not dementia? I don't get that he does, hun. I mean, and that's the thing too, you guys. We have to remember, this is a 20-year-old kid that was in the middle of college. Like, I think people also need to give him grace for this, because you're away at school, your parents are breaking up, it's on national TV. So you're already probably dealing with a bunch of people constantly trying to, start shit or be in your business or sell stories because they know you or whatever. Then your mom goes through all this health stuff. The pandemic also hits. And you're suddenly responsible for, or trying to be responsible and take care of a grown adult with addiction issues and mental health issues, and have all of this responsibility that somebody that's even 40 years old probably wouldn't have. I think that he has done an amazing job, because a lot of kids would have either said, I can't do this, or, fucked around or whatever, but he still tried to step up and take care of his mother himself as best as he could. And that is a lot to put on anybody, but especially somebody so young who doesn't have that experience and doesn't know what to do in that situation. So I think that we need to give a lot of grace to little Kev, because at the same time, he lost his parents, you guys. Like, he's basically lost his mom. She will never be the mother that he knew again. And the only thing that he looks forward to is that someday she's not even going to know who he is anymore if this disease progresses. And the only thing that he knows is that he's going to lose his mom earlier than he ever should have. She's not going to be there to watch him get married and have babies and play grandma and all of that. And the one parent that he's going to be left with is going to be sitting there trying to use him for whatever he thinks that Kevin got out of Wendy's estate when everything is said and done. Like, that makes my heart hurt so much for him. And knowing like how much like Wendy loved him and how hard she tried to have him. And you know that if you knew anything about Wendy and the way that she was as a mom, like, the last thing that she would ever want to do is put this on her child or leave him too soon or any of that. And it just breaks my heart for him that this is, that's the only thing that he has to look forward to. He doesn't get to look forward to, oh, my mom might get better, or we can go on a vacation next year, or I get to have her, witness me do any of this stuff, because she might not be mentally there to even understand what's going on or know I'm her kid. And I've dealt with people, that's why I said this is really triggering to me, because like, I've dealt with people in my family that have had dementia, and it is so fucking heartbreaking when somebody that you love so much doesn't know who you are anymore, or becomes violent or aggressive, because that's things that happens with that disease, and they start accusing you of things or being mean to you, and you're like, you were supposed to love me, now you're calling me names. It's so fucking hard to deal with. And it's so hard to deal with somebody that has an addiction too, because you love them, but you know that there's something else that's controlling them. So you add those two things together, that's so much for this poor kid. So just keep him in your prayers, you guys. He really needs it right now. He really, really needs it. So poor kid. And Wendy needs our prayers too. And lastly, guys, everybody that wants to go in the shade room comments and say that this is Wendy's karma for talking about people, well, then I guess all of you are going to end up alcoholics with a conservatorship and dementia also. Because y'all be in those damn shade room comments dragging people the same fucking way that she did. And I don't know why anybody thinks that them talking shit is any less worse than her doing that. This is not karma. This is her being spiritually attacked for doing her spiritual purpose, which was to bring to light the bullshit that was really going on and to try to save some of us from falling prey to it. Because the devil will always attack people who are doing God's work. So don't point fingers unless you're going to point a finger right back at yourself. Because I see people that literally on the next post, they're like, oh my God, look at how fat that girl looks, and she's so stupid, and I hope her boyfriend leaves her. And I'm like, So you don't think that you're going to get any of this karma that you think Wendy's getting because you just said some shit that was just as bad, if not worse, than the stuff I've heard her say. So it's because she's a black woman and everybody's always conditioned to have the misogynoir that black women are not allowed to do the same things that their white counterparts get celebrated for. So let's break that programming and unlearn that bullshit. Because if it was okay for Joan Collins and Joan Rivers and me and all the other white content creators that I've seen out here that gossip about people and talk about these celebrities, then Wendy is justified in it just as much as any other person. Let's be real. Keep the same energy for everybody. So, anyways, guys, I have to go, but I hope everybody has a good rest of their week. If you want to book a personal and private reading with me, psychicbellalove.com. Join us over on patreon.com/psychicbellalove for exclusive content. And that's the only place that I take any requests for celebrity readings. And I will be back over here next Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, as per usual. In the meantime, guys, I love you. Your ancestors love you. Show my ancestors some love and hit the like button on the way out because they be all over the energy that we do over here. And if you're good to me, they like you and they bless you in return. Anyways, guys, have a great one and I will see you all next week.